Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's Asha Mac. Today I have a very old friend of mine, not an old man, but an old friend, Mr. Tin Man himself, Tom Inman. He is here to talk to us about flipping sneakers. Now I have mentioned this on my channel several times about the side hustle, the business, the whatever you want to call it, where you can just get old sneakers, new sneakers, refurbished sneakers, fresh sneakers, limited editions, and flip them for a coin. So today we're glad to have you, Tom. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
I haven't talked to you in literal years. So
yeah.
I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, other than, glancing little comments on Facebook.
Right, and I think I ran into you once at the grocery store like 5 years ago. No,
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I remember that now. Mom was
I think I was a mom by that point, so I'm pretty sure it was just.
Yeah, you were, and your mom was with you. Yeah, I think you were coming home, if I remember, for the first baby or something that just came in town, Kroger maybe, something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was Meyer actually.
Yes, one of them. Yeah,
Meyer, for sure. Yeah, so I always knew that you liked shoes back in the day, but I had no idea that what I see behind you was to come. So I guess I don't need to ask you why you went into shoe flipping.
Yeah. It was a little bit of luck, getting in enough trouble when you're young and not being able to do everything you wanted to do. So basketball was kind of it. My dad was like, if you're playing sports, I don't care. So I could play on 5 basketball teams at one time. And what it meant was I was going to get a pair of shoes for each team. Right? So each color, each season I get 4 or 5 pairs, whatever it was. By the time you're done with high school, we were already in that era of like Air Force Ones, remember?
Right.
And so you're collecting Air Force Ones at the time were only a $75 shoe, right? And they were coming out every week and every flavor,
did Air Force
color.
Ones come after Jordans?
Well, so 82.
I mean, I know Jordans are back.
Yeah, 82 would have been the Air Force One. So I'd say Air Force One was right before Jordan by not much, maybe 2-3 years, because I think the first Jordan was 85, maybe 85, 86.
I just mean like the trendiness of it. Like,
yes, trendiness. Well, Jordan was Jordan from the get-go. Right. So as soon as Jordans popped, they popped. But for us, it was, Jordan was the shoe for basketball, but you didn't, back then you wore it for basketball.
Right, yeah.
That
was it.
Now it's you'd walk to school in boots or walk to school in boots and get to school and put your shoes on at school if your parents allowed you to. If not, it wasn't until basketball season was over. Most of us basketball players, because they were crazy expensive. But at the end of high school, I had a ton of shoes, and it became collecting, and then it turned into trading, and then it turned into probably an obsession, a passion, slash obsession. And at a certain point, I looked around and I realized I had shoes that were worth a lot more than I paid for.
Okay.
Right? And this is really early on, but as soon as I realized—
you never even really thought, like, I'm gonna do this.
I just wanted them. I wanted them because, in our age, at that time, it wasn't all about it like now where you got to be fresh every single day, but we wanted to look nice, and shoes were part of it. And for me particularly, I just loved them. So I just got as many as I could, and I ended up with a lot of them. And when you have, the more shoes you have, the less you wear them.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have 10, 20 pairs, that shoe is technically going to last you maybe 10 to 20 times as long as it would if you were only wearing one shoe every day. So a lot of people go, why do you have the same pair of shoes in 8 different colors? I can't explain that. What I can explain is why my shoes are clean and why my shoes last longer. Right.
Well, yeah.
And at a certain point, like I said, I looked back and I had Air Forces that, Air Forces were $100 shoe, 75 regular, the limited edition stuff, maybe $140. Those shoes started doubling in price. So
Wow.
you realized I spent $100 on them, wore them once or twice. They are still brand new, right?
And I had no idea until just recently that happened to Air Force Ones. Like in my mind, I'm like, that's just a white shoe. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I think at this point, there's a couple thousand different colorways. So,
yeah.
And the way Nike has built their business is it's marketing 101. They anticipate the trends, they make the trends, they they compete. They are just out of control when it comes to market share and what they want to do, they're going to do. So they kind of force you into the trends. And so Air Forces went through, Jordans went through, there was the era of Reebok with the Iversons, the Penny Hardaways, all of Nike basketball at the time. Everything's worth money. This is what people don't realize. Almost everything is worth money. It's just they're worth money for different reasons.
Right.
So when you start looking at trying to make money off of them, it's a totally different mind space than I want shoes because I like this shoe. Okay, so now you're starting to get into a point where you've got to realize, am I a collector or am I a seller or am I a
And so when did that shift happen for you?
I don't know if it's ever happened. To be honest, there are certain shoes that I sell till this day that I get pissed. I don't want to. I don't
care. But aren't they not even in your size?
Even then, there's a part of a reseller that realizes I can hold them longer and make them worth more. So anytime you're selling something, it's similar to selling a stock. I rode this stock, I've invested my time in it. I see the payoff. Is there more payoff? Am I biting the bullet early? Am I too late? There's a lot that goes into.
Sorry to cut you off, but with that said, do you use a certain software or anything to like track what shoes are worth what, or?
So I forgot what their what do you want to call it? They just did another round of funding, and so they get another StockX right now. I forgot what they said they're worth. So StockX is basically the best spot to go because they monitor multiple things and not just theirs. So they monitor outside markets, shoe stores that are actually not retail stores. They're are retail, non-retail stores. So they're resale stores that people are already getting the markup on, And so they pay attention to everything. So it gives you a little more of a broad base, but you still have to know local markets. So for me, everything we've done in our reselling life that has been worthwhile has been in San Francisco.
Okay.
And so I have to pay attention to San Francisco and California markets more than I do Michigan. Because
go ahead, I'm sorry.
They pay more. And in Michigan, particularly mid-Michigan, where I'm at, it's harder to get, so they're not around as much, and then people want to whine about price. In San Francisco, there's enough people, it just is what it is, and so it's a bit easier. So yes, I've stayed in that market for the most part, but StockX is going to be, you can pretty much punch a name of a shoe in or a color or a style, product number on the box, and it's going to pull up and show you what it's worth in any size. If it's worth something.
Is that like a premium software, or is that like a website that you can just like go onto? So I'll make sure I link that below. So if you guys are interested in using that, then
it's an app on your phone, and it pulls up. It's pretty comprehensive. It'll run down anything from the top 10 shoes this year to the top 10 shoes all the time to things that are. It's pretty much, basically, it's a stock market for
shoes,
for sneakers and streetwear. So I also deal with what they would call streetwear, but it's really just clothing, you know, but
Right.
it's, you know, Bait, Supreme, you know, Just Don. There's just like some clothing brands that's very expensive. It's niche marketing. And when it comes out, it sells out and you either got it or you didn't. And if it was $100, it's $150 tomorrow, and next year it's $200.
It's just gonna keep on. So when you say you do most of your transactions out in Cali, are you going to trade shows? Are you shipping?
So we fly as of right now, we haven't done anything, right? You know, just like anybody else, we've been shut down and pretty much spending money you've saved, right?
Right.
But up until we had the beginning of the pandemic, we were flying at least once a month to San Francisco.
Okay.
At the worst, it was probably 2 times a month, you know? And so we were flying out there, and we started out with just 3 or 4 different stores we had, and we knew managers. And out there, they have a lot more shoes available, right? So here in Saginaw, you're going to have the mall with 3, maybe 4 stores, and each of them are going to get 2 size runs in it, which means in Saginaw, if you're a size 11 or a 10.5,
you ain't getting
there
no
might
shoes.
be 8 pairs of shoes in that entire mall for you. If I live in your town, there is none. They're gone. If I want them, they're gone. Now in San Francisco, you times that by about 8. You know, in each store, and the malls are bigger, there's more stores.
So you got so much more selection.
Yes. So numbers wise, we could pull where we might be able to get everything out of the mall here back home. You might get 20, 30 pairs of shoes. We can do that in each store out there. And then,
so you're just sourcing your shoes out there. You're not necessarily selling them there.
No, I sell them all there. Because like you said, if you want to ship them back in a wardrobe box, you're at another $300 in shipping. 200, you know,
cutting
200.
into all that money.
Yes.
So well, with that case, I guess I don't even have to ask you what you would do, but what you do. But say a person is purchasing shoes from different sources, how would they make sure that they were getting authentic shoes if they weren't necessarily just going to these malls and things like that? Is that the only place that you source? Like,
well, so that is one of the big reasons why we stick with retail stores. First of all, there's a huge misconception anytime I've ever told anybody I sell shoes, right? I sell shoes. They go, oh, you know, can you get these? Can you get that? I can get you anything. Okay. Do you know how much they are? You know, because a lot of times people, you know, when you think of shoes, you think of certain shoes.
Right.
There's certain shoes in your head because everybody wants them, wanted them, or when they come out again, everybody's gonna want them. And so I've had this conversation probably 1,000 times. Hey, you know that one shoe came out at Christmas? Yeah, which one? Oh, the Jordan 11, because every Christmas there's a Jordan 11 that comes out, and you know as easy as I know, that mall is going to be packed. Everybody's going to want them, and they're going to be impossible to get, and it just is what it is. And so they'll go, hey man, can you get my size? And I'm like, what size? They tell me a size. I do, you know, phone call or 2. Yep, I got them. Okay, well, is 200 enough? Well, they were 250 when they came out.
Right.
You're
this
asking
ain't a
me
discount.
for a shoe. Yeah, you're asking me for a shoe that was sold out ahead of time when they came out. They've been sold out since, and you know you can't get them, or else you're not calling me.
Right.
Somebody you ain't talked to in forever that you just happen to maybe, oh, I seen what's his name had a bunch of, you know, pairs or something, which I don't even do anymore. I don't even post the shoes I'm getting anymore. Because it becomes that thought of, oh, he can get shoes, he can get them cheaper than the store. No, I'm buying them from the store. So that's my baseline price. So if you want to talk about wholesalers that are, you know, Foot Action, Champs, blah, 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 they're getting them cheaper and selling them and making money, right? I've got to go to them, let them make their money, buy it, and then it either has to be a hot enough shoe to wear right then and there, I can get somebody, or I've got to have a backbone or a willpower to let it sit for maybe
Yeah.
6 months, maybe a year, up
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, at about 5.5, 6 years, we start looking at shoes like they're ugly girlfriends, I would call it. You know, it's like, you know, at about 5 years, Nike's not playing around anymore. Nike
Yeah.
doesn't, it does not go 5 to 7 years without re-releasing a shoe. So if
Mm-hmm.
you see a shoe that it hasn't came out in 7 years and you have a bunch of them in your inventory, you better duck, they better get gone.
So with
Because it's
that
going to eat,
said,
it's going to
what's
cannibalize itself.
the oldest? It will cannibalize itself. I didn't
Yes.
know if y'all heard that. What is the longest, like all those shoes back there? What's the oldest shoe you have, and what's the newest shoe you've acquired?
Oldest. I mean, well, my oldest would probably be shoes that I still have from when I originally bought them back in high school.
That you're holding on to as a form of investment, or that
No,
you just
that they're mine. They're my collection. I've worn them. I bought them. They're in good enough condition as where I still haven't got rid of them or beat
Okay,
them
well,
up
I
or
mean, in
whatever.
like the shoe that you're holding on to, so that,
Well, I'm trying to
or you don't
think
want to
of-
let me know.
No, it's not that.
fine.
I'm just trying to think of, because like I said, Nike technically re-releases them. So I could tell you right now, I've been sitting on a bunch of Air Jordan 1 Chicago's, right? Which is a Jordan 1. It was brought out in 85, or I think it was 85, 86. So when they brought that shoe out, but it was 85, but the ones I'm holding on to are from 2015 because they were re-released, you know? So when you get into some of them older shoes, you lose value at a certain point. So when I think of the oldest shoes I have, probably like an original Air Jordan 5. I have a couple Air Jordan 5s and 13s that are still brand new and would have been from, well, a Jordan 13 would have been from 98-ish. It's right around there, 2000, I think. So technically that would be my oldest shoe. But when you think of shoe models, that the Air Jordan 1 right now is kind of everything, the end all be all in reselling. Because the shoe, even till this day, and they keep raising the price, it's still only $170 from the store.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they've raised that about $30 in the last 3 or 4 years, right? It was at one point still like $140, $150 shoe. And so that is basically the cheapest Jordan you can buy, right? Retail from a store.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that they don't make a lot of them. They're hard to get, and the colorways seem to be very popular. And so those shoes are the ones that are like, you don't miss on them. If you can get them, you're going to make $50 right now, and you're going to make $100 next 3 months, and you're going to make maybe more than that in a year. So that's kind of the best shoe, the one that you're looking at, the one that I've, like, if you look behind me, you see all of these, the black and red boxes with the Nike on them. Those are all Air Jordan 1s, right? And so when you look at this, I don't even need to know what shoes are in them, if they're the same or different, but you can just look at them and go, on average, 1,000, 15, 500, you know, the numbers on an Air Jordan 1 right now, like the cheap resale ones, I mean, they're $400 or $500 shoes.
Yeah.
And when you bought them for 170, you're not going to beat it. Most other Jordans are 220 to 250. I mean, that's a huge difference. You're looking at $80 in just the difference in retail on some of the Jordans. So, you know.
So you got all these shoes, and some of them you sell.
Well, no, I sell.
But my question is this: how do you find, since you're not posting about the shoes, how do you find buyers?
See, at this point in my journey, or whatever you want to call it, in selling, I'm at the point to where I don't necessarily need people to sell shoes. It's that simple. So that
they just sell themselves.
Yeah, but the app I was telling you about for StockX, where you can go to find out what prices are. You can also just drop shoes on there and sell them.
Man, okay.
So if you go that route, it's smart and stupid for a reseller because one is you're not getting a reputation. You're not building a brand. You're not building a storefront. You're not building a clientele list, because they basically block you off end to end. They bring us buyer, you're the seller, they do the stuff, you never know each other.
But in that case, would you really even care about having a brand? You know, I mean, like, if you just want to be.
I mean, it depends on what you're in it for. At a certain point, me and my best friend who I do this with, we were in it to build up to a store. We were seconds away from a couple of different times signing on the dotted line and just biting the bullet. And being here in Saginaw, Michigan, it just hasn't made sense yet. Yeah. There is one store here that does it, and I won't bash them or anything like that, but storefronts can be done the right way and the wrong way. And so
I can tell you, I've noticed, like, I lived in Miami for 15 years. We had like 3 in the 15 years I was there, and they would pack in, they would sell out, but then the store would disappear. Me living there for 15 years, I would see the same store come back 2 years later. You know what I mean? Like, the buyer doesn't really notice that, but they wouldn't sit there for a long time. Even here in DC. Now, there's an area called McLean in Tyson's Corner. There's a mall there. There's one shoe store like this in Tyson's Mall, and it opens, and then the store is empty, and then it opens, and then the store is empty, but everything sells out, you know?
Yeah, it's really, when you get into reselling, you think it's just reselling, but then if you actually ask one of these questions, but if you go into not brand new shoes, it opens up a whole different revenue stream, because you can clean shoes, you can restore them. Eventually, what cleaning, and the reason why I stopped and never really dabbled in it very much was because if you start cleaning, you start painting and repainting shoes, and then you start de-yellowing them, and then you start customizing, and then that's an entire job in itself. Right, yeah, that's a whole nother hustle. Yeah, so if you're a storefront and you know somebody who likes that lane, you give them a job and let them clean shoes for $20. Right, yeah. You know, so like it's like a jeweler, you know, like the jeweler's got the guy in the back making watches or whatever they're doing. Exactly. So with each thing you open up to, it opens up different ways to make money, but different ways to have headaches, and different ways to need to grow and, you know, press advantages, I would say, in different markets. Because, I mean, there are a ton of shoes that are $1,000 shoes, and then somebody beats them up. Right. Well, if you know what you're doing and cleaning them, you can clean them so damn good that eventually somebody looks at them and goes, man, those look nice. Yeah. And you might have got them for $100 because the guy was throwing them away, and now they're worth $500 again. Yeah. So there are people that are that talented at cleaning and restoring shoes, and it isn't the easiest thing to do, but once you've got it, you've kind of got it. Yeah, once you learn the skill, you got the skill. Yeah, so when you talk about stores that kind of go out of business, it's because they just only want to do the fancy stuff, maybe. They only wanted to get the shoes and sell the shoes. They didn't want to, you know, because when you have a storefront, you need to have, some people don't want to sell you their shoes. They would rather consign them, right? So you consign it, and you're only making maybe 10% at that point. Yeah. But if you don't... Exactly. I mean, no hate to consignment, because there is money to be made. Exactly. But... And when you look at these big stores, that's honestly where they're making their most money at. They are making more money off of consignment than anything else. Yeah. Because there's only so many people out there that can literally wipe a mall out. Because at a certain point, if I keep wiping a mall out, my friends, the people that I eventually have relationships with in business and friendships, are the managers, the general managers, the district managers, they lose jobs. Yeah. Okay. They lose jobs. They put their livelihoods at risk by trying to help people out. And they're just making a couple extra dollars, just like I'm trying to make a couple extra dollars. So if you
overuse the resource.
Exactly. You kind of bite the hand, you kind of cut the head off real quick, and it's not smart to do. And a lot of people mess up, and so it just depends on how you look at each area and how you're going to break it down, and how many advantages you want to press, more or less.
So I noticed that you talk about kind of the same shoes. Are there certain shoes that you will like refuse to buy, like they're just not worth it, or does it matter? It's just like whatever you think will grow and that's it, or do you just have shoes?
So when it comes to staying away from certain things, right? I think that was the question, right? Was so I would give the advice. What number was that question? Do you know?
I think that's the second to last one.
Second to last.
You did pretty good at just going through and me not having to ask you much. I like it when people just talk to me. It's nice.
I knew what you were saying, so I wanted to give it. Okay, so what I wrote down was, I think that you never invest in any particular shoe without knowing why and what angle you're taking, right? Because when you're buying shoes, there are shoes that are surefire. You're going to make some money because of the height, because of how hard they are going to be to get. Or hey, maybe you're in a town where there's a shoe store that just is the shoe store, because there are some of them. And if you've got a friend who works there, you're the guy. It just is what it is. But when you go into buying shoes, you've got to realize, am I buying these to get a quick buck, maybe $20 a pair, and I'm going to buy 10, 20 pairs, and then I make it back? It's a couple bucks, right?
Right. I think something's going on with your internet. You're frozen. Oh, well, it looks like we may have lost Tom. He's back.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was saying though, so if you're buying it with the purpose to sit on it because maybe they've been on sale and they were a $140 shoe and it's 80 bucks now, but 30% extra off. If you buy that shoe and get as many as you can with it and sit on it for a year, that shoe is going to raise in value to past where it was at retail. But you've got to look at it like it's a stock of some sorts and be willing to kind of let your money sit there. If you don't want to do that, you're going to sell them ahead of time and you're not going to make that money. So what was your plan when you originally did it is what I would go back to. Make sure.
So it kind of sounds like your mindset with this, and this is kind of like a different angle than I even had imagined it, is more so like, like I said, my husband, he flips computers.
Yes.
It's kind of a no-brainer. Everybody's going to buy a computer, like as long as it's not too old and it looks really nice and it moves really fast, people are going to buy it. But when you're investing in a sneaker, you kind of have to, like you say, look at it like a stock. Like, is this going to grow? Not just what is it today? What's it going to be tomorrow? It's kind of like the long game.
Yes. Yeah. They are absolutely stocks. That is the easiest way to explain it to people. When I buy a pair of shoes, I bought in at that shoe at X, and however long I keep it or what the market does after that dictates what you're going to do with it. So it's really just market analysis. Once you start paying attention to what's happening, what's popping, what the celebrities are wearing, it's pretty easy to figure out what is out there. Just watch a damn basketball game and watch what they're wearing on the way to the court, or on the way into the building. So it's like, it's pretty easy once you have the info, but when you're coming in from nowhere, where do you start? I would start with looking at that top 10 popular shoes, because they're going to come out in 8 different colors this next month, so they're available.
Right. Very cool, man. Well, I think that you have given people a lot to chew on, and it's pretty cool. Honestly, this was a perspective I was not expecting. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's fun and time consuming, and there's money to be made.
Oh, that's another thing.
You
Do
know,
you see that? Is this because I don't know what you do with the rest of your life? You know,
I've
like
been doing,
Tom and I were real close
never
back
had
in
a
the
job.
day, and I have not talked to him for years. So
Well,
you've been seeing us reconnect right now. Do you do this as a side hustle, or is this like
this has been, I've never had a job.
That is amazing. That is
amazing. I have been paying my bills off of sneakers. I mean, I don't know about sneakers exclusively for how long, but sneakers has been, I mean, it's basically, I mean, right now in this pandemic, every week when bills need to get paid, I gotta chuck a couple. You know what I'm saying? I think so. One of the questions you asked was how many shoes I have right now, usually, right? And so I'd break it up and say I have my shoes that I don't consider I'm selling. They're mine, which is a couple hundred, maybe 250-ish. But then I have stuff I have like this. This is stuff I'm sitting on waiting to sell or whatever. That's another couple hundred, and my buddy has a couple hundred. So we usually have about 400 to 500 pairs of shoes.
That's a really nice inventory. Can you hold on 1 second?
No problem.
Well, that's really cool. I just want to thank you so much for spending the time with me and with us and my audience and sharing your knowledge. If you guys like this video, which I'm pretty sure you probably did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know what I can do better. Subscribe, hit the bell, and until next time, be blessed. Bye. All right.